Hi everyone, my name is Michelle. I'm a therapist in the Seattle, Washington area with my practice Next Chapter Counseling. And last week I made a video about how to handle it if you are going through a relationship ending and your now ex does not want to work with you to logistically figure out what it's going to look like for the two of you to separate. You guys are struggling to figure out what to do with your finances or your belongings that you share together or things like that. How can you handle that? That was last week's video. This week's video focuses on a different aspect, which is when you have an ex that's not wanting to emotionally let go of the relationship. Maybe they are still trying to win you back, or they are still telling you that they're in love with you and they're just denying that the relationship is over, and they are resisting the two of you emotionally going your separate ways. How can you handle that? So, there's something that I want to say right off the bat, which is that there can be a spectrum here from what it means to have somebody who won't emotionally let you go. On the extreme end, this can look like stalking or harassment if someone will not let go of you or respect your wishes to say, this relationship is over, I'm truly done. It can go to an extreme degree where that person maybe starts threatening you, or things can turn really sour very quickly sometimes if the person is not getting the message that this relationship is done. So it can go there. On the more mild end, sometimes it's not that that person is intending to, I don't know, they don't have any ill intent. They're just really struggling emotionally themselves. And sometimes you get a taste of that. Occasionally they share with you, I'm really struggling with this. I'm still in love with you. If you maybe set a boundary with them, they back off a little bit, but you can just sense that they're not ready to let go. So this can range from mild to extreme in terms of how strongly somebody is hanging on to this relationship. The same way that I mentioned in the last video, that sometimes it can look like the reason why someone is not working with you to logistically separate is from a place of abuse and wanting to control and manipulate. So it can look that way too, with someone not emotionally letting go of the relationship. And so, first and foremost, I think it's really important that if you do suspect that that's what's going on here, you can absolutely, and I encourage you to do so, take steps to block that person. Block them on social media, block their number. Really try to minimize or reduce contact as much as possible if they are truly not respecting your boundaries. You can even do this if it is more mild and you're just tired of the occasional text that you get with your ex saying, "How are you? I miss you. I'm thinking of you." And if you're just over that, blocking is an option available to you if you want to go that route. So, for some, that's the quick and easy way to solve this problem. You block the person and you move on with your life. So, you can do that if that works for you. However, I want to give some other alternatives and some other options as well, because there are certain situations where blocking that person may not be feasible. If the two of you share children together, if you work together, whatever it may be, you may still have to some degree or another, be involved with this other person, and you can't completely cut them out of your life. So then what can you do? So those are two other things that I want to talk about, because it is something where if you have to have contact with this person, you want it to be that you're not doing anything to indicate to the other person that you have any chance of getting back together, right? If they're sending you an "I miss you" text, you don't want to text them back and say, "Yeah, I miss you too sometimes, but we're done." You don't even want to be saying those words, "I miss you too," because you don't want to give any indication that things could resume if you're really done. So, one way to try to solve this problem is to make sure that if the two of you do need to see each other, only see each other in a public place. Don't have them come over to your house for any reason, that becomes all too easy for things to just feel comfortable again, for things to feel like how they were, especially if, let's say, you're still living in the house that the two of you shared together, and then they come over to get something or to pick up the kids or whatever it is. Nope. It can just become too much of a gray area for them to try to make themselves at home. So don't see each other at each other's houses. Only see each other in a public place can very much set this tone of formality. And that there is a start and an end, right? If you are meeting them for coffee, you can choose to leave after an hour. If they come over to your house, there's just a lot more wiggle room of like, well, how long does this interaction last? So that's the first thing that I recommend. And the second thing that I recommend is that if you are interacting with each other, make sure you are being very clear about why you are making contact with them. Again, avoid it as much as you can, but if you have to make contact with them, keep it about the thing and be very clear about that. Be like a broken record if they start bringing up the two of you and the relationship that you shared, and I just really wish things could go back to how they were, whatever. Keep it about the kids, keep it about work, keep it about whatever it is, maybe the logistical stuff that you're trying to figure out with them too. Make sure that you are very clear with them why you are communicating with them. And here's the thing, there may be a part of you that even though you might have no intention of getting back together, there may be a part of you that wonders, oh, can we be friends? Or, that kind of a thing. I have some other videos about that I may post in the description if you are curious about my thoughts on that matter. But I would really discourage you from sending, how are you doing type of text. Even if you're just trying to be nice, even if you don't want the relationship to resume, that can send a mixed message. So make sure that when you are communicating with them, you are keeping it about the matter at hand, being very direct, that if they try to derail the conversation to talking about the two of you romantically, you ignore that and just bring it back to what the thing is, to send them a clear message that getting back together is not going to happen. So those are the things that I recommend. Block them if it has either gone into an extreme degree or if that's just what feels best for your emotional well-being. But if you can't, make sure that you are meeting with them in a public place if you need to see each other face to face for any reason. And also make sure that the communication between the two of you stays very focused on what is needing to be discussed, not talking about the relationship between the two of you. If you have a question for me about love or relationships, send it to me in an email, nextchapter.michelle@gmail.com, and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks, everyone.